2015, you were at the height of your career. You were the most famous fitness influencer. You started the whole aesthetic fitness trend. And then suddenly something happened in 2015, 2016, and your online presence started to dwindle a little bit. Can you tell me a bit more about this?
Well, I think it all started in the end of 2014, but I didn't accept it. I started having pain in my tendons in the forearms. I remember that I was training with pain every day, but I was at that point of my life, I couldn't imagine to stop training. This was my life. It is my life now. It was my life back then. But back then, it was also like my career. I was trying to go on top, even climbing higher tops. And I remember that I couldn't imagine even to stop for 1 or 2 days just to rest. And I continued to train with pain every day. I was going to gym. I had pains before. So and most of the time they just went away, So I was hoping that time is going to be the same. But it was different because the pain was getting even worse every day. So in the beginning of 2015, I decided to stop. And I thought that probably I would stop for, let's say, 2 weeks, and the pain would go away. It was even hard to imagine, to stop for 2 weeks back then. But I stopped training, I started physiotherapy, and the pain was staying there. So I couldn't train for months, weeks became months. I remember actually that I continued to train legs after that because, I said I would stop training upper body and I would just train legs. I would train them heavier because they were my weak part. And probably on the second or third workout, my legs started hurting also. So at that point, I couldn't do anything. It was 2015. I started physio. Physio wasn't helping. I remember that at some point, the pain in my forearms was so bad, I couldn't use my phone. I couldn't pick up a glass. I couldn't use the mouse. I couldn't use the keyboard. So I was, I couldn't do anything in life. And at that point, I decided, okay, let's do surgery then, because that's what doctor suggested.
You were presented with the option to do either physiotherapy or surgery.
But I did physiotherapy for months and it didn't help. And I think one of my mistakes was that I totally stopped doing, all kind of exercises, and because at that point of my life, I couldn't imagine to train at 50, 60%, I was always training at 100. And can you imagine like going every day to be the best, and at some point you go and say, I'm going to train at 50%, I'm going to train at 20%, I'm going to lift light weights. I just couldn't. My mindset at that point was like that. So the physio wasn't helping, so the only option was to do surgeries. And at that point, I underestimated the surgeries, because I never had surgeries before. I thought that you make a surgery and that, doctor said after 3 months you're ready to go. But they didn't tell me how important was the actual recovery period. So I underestimated the whole situation. Even though after that, I did 4 surgeries in a couple of months.
When was that? What year?
I began the first 2 surgeries in the end of 2015, the beginning 2016. And I was pretty sure that I'm gonna come back really fast. I'm strong. I don't care. If other people came back from that shit, I can come back. Do me one after another. This was also a mistake as I'm looking at it now. And I started doing these surgeries, and I remember that recovery period wasn't going the way it should be. Like I was still having pain. Even though it was a slower process, I started going to the gym. And I started to get my shape back. I think it was too fast. I had pain, but I was pushing, because that's the only way I know. And probably for 6 months, I got to a certain shape, which was probably 70-80% of what I was before. And I couldn't do a lot of exercises. I couldn't do the same weights as before, but I was, still training. Then I started living the same life as I was living before, but I remember I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy because I couldn't train the same way as I was training before. And I was watching a lot of comments on social media. People wanted me to show how I train at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't happy with the way I trained, because let's say I was training with the 60-70% of the weights I was training before, because I was always training as heavy as I can. So I think the size that I got back was mainly from muscle memory. It wasn't from very heavy workouts. So even at that point of my life, I got my shape back like 80%, but I wasn't happy with my life. And then I remember that I went to so many expos, and once I was in Russia for one expo, and I saw one comment on my Instagram. So it was a guy that says, "Oh, you look good, but you don't look like before."
It's not like you were.
Yeah, which was actually the truth, but I was mad because he doesn't know how I feel. People just look at you and they say, "Oh, you don't look like before, the same as before. You're not the same." But man, you don't know that I'm in pain all the time, and that's what made me mad. And I said, I'm gonna show them that I'm the best in this thing, because certainly they forgot, right? So I need to show them. I said, I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna start training at 100% again.
I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna focus on my shape, because I look like shit now. And after 3 months, I'm gonna show you how great I am.
So I start training and doing the same stuff again.
But this time 100%.
At 100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember I trained like that for 3 months, not more. And not 3 months, but 3 weeks. And the pain started coming again, even worse. Like the pain in the tendons, it started spread around the whole body. So
it went from your forearms to your entire body.
Yeah, from the forearms to the triceps to the chest. It was everywhere, on the legs also. And at that point of my life, it was probably the hardest, because I went through all that shit with the surgeries. I wasn't happy, even though I came back to some extent. And now I had to stop again, because I know what it cost me to go at that point. So at that point, everything was gray.
So when exactly was that point? Like what you just described as the hardest moment of your life?
It was 2017, the summer of 2017. I decided that I will be in the same shape again as I was before. And the pain came back, so I had to stop, and the pain started spreading all over my body. So I was even worse than before. And after so many surgeries, I didn't know what to do now. Like I did 4 surgeries, so what I have to do surgeries again, I know what it costed me, and they didn't help that much, so what is now? I was desperate, because I started going to different type of doctors all over the world. I was just, at that point, I was making good money, so I was spending like this. I just wanted to get my life back as before.
How bad was the pain? Can you describe? Because to me as a fan, And this is the image I know of you, that you push really hard, that you don't stop no matter what happens, and you just proved it with your words. But then this must have been so bad, like the pain must have been so bad that you had to stop again. So can you describe to me as a fan and to your other fans what obstacles you encountered in your everyday life so we can get an idea?
Well, the pain isn't like so bad, but it still limits you to do workouts, because when you go to train, like it's tendonitis, right? And when you go to train, it gets worse after the training. That's the thing. So if you go to train now, you know that tomorrow you're gonna have worse pain, you know. And the thing is that I had it all over my body, so it was limiting for me for everything. You know, I couldn't do anything in the gym. That was the problem. And once I stopped going to the gym, it was totally depression. You know, I didn't know what to do with my life. That was the hard part, because I realized that all my life I was doing sports, you know, and this is the only way I know to live, to wake up every morning and to, you know, chase my dreams, to try to become better than yesterday. And once I had all these problems, I couldn't do this anymore. So I didn't know why should I live? What's the point of everything?
So you started questioning what's the point of life.
I can say that to me at that point I felt like I'm dead. And that's it. Like I don't feel like I'm living, you know. I didn't feel that I'm alive. When I was watching social media, I see all these people going to gym, which made me like very depressed. Like I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, they don't realize what they have. I'm dreaming for this, you know. I want to have this health so I can go to the gym. This is the only thing I know. That's the thing that I live for. And I was depressed. I wasn't going out. you know, my body wasn't looking the same as it was looking before. And with all this popularity that I had at the moment, I was trying to hide myself, because I was ashamed of what I was. I never went to the beach because, you know, I was ashamed that probably someone will recognize me and say, look how he